Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. So, concept art from Ben Affleck's cancelled The Batman shows exactly what he could have looked like in the film, potentially, at the very least. Anyway, this is quite interesting timing. I would imagine this is like NDAs just being dropped, I'm guessing. Now, don't expect anything hugely revealing here. It's quite literally what Ben Affleck could have looked like in the film, okay? So it's just a variation on the Batsuit. But it's interesting, and it's interesting, I think, as well, just to dive into and take a look at what could have been. Concept artists normally fall by the wayside on these productions, especially when they're cancelled, and it's nice when they share their work out and we can appreciate it. So we're going to dive into this today. Before we do, folks, please do check out the links in the description box. Follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, and also check out my second channel. All of that is down below. But let's go, ladies and gents. That was weird. Let's go. So, of course, The Batman delivered a fan-favourite take on The Dark Knight and successfully kickstarted a new era for the titular hero. But before Matt Reeves took the helm of the film, and before Robert Pattinson became the Cape Crusader, The Batman was supposed to be a DCEU film, which was going to be starring and directed by Ben Affleck. Which would have been his version of Bruce Wayne following his debut in BVS, Dawn of Justice. Now, you know, whenever you do a video like this and you reference, you know, another movie that's just come out and things like this, we always get the tribalistic behavior. You know, regardless of whether you're a fan of Ben Affleck or not, the circumstances surrounding this film, it's just fallen apart, hasn't it, really? How, you know, The Batman changed and how it became The Batman. So, from Ben Affleck's to Matt Reeves. It was an interesting turn of events, and it's kind of difficult not to talk about when we dive into this film and this video here. But I do think, at the end of the day, you know, you have to be a pretty big mega fan of Zack Snyder's vision to have went along with this. Now, I'm not saying that I don't think this would have been good, FYI, but I also think what we have had is also pretty decent as well. Now, things appear to be going well for the superhero adventure, as Affleck would share test footage of Deathstroke, which is interesting that happened, and of course that would eventually then be revealed as the Batman's main villain, played of course by Joe Manganiello. And as time went on, however, development on the film stalled. Firstly, Ben Affleck stepped down as director, and then he would hand the reins over to Matt Reeves, and then lastly it would just be, Matt Reeves didn't want, basically Affleck would step down from the role altogether, and then Matt Reeves was like, let's do my own version. Now, in all of that as well, there was some interesting turn of events, because I think, wasn't it like Ben Affleck released a film where he was going to be he was the director of that film. He starred and directed, but that didn't do very well. And the thing is, like a studio, you fall pretty foul of a studio pretty quickly. And I'm not saying that is the case here, but I think it was around the same time Ben Affleck released the film he was starring and directing in, and it didn't do very well. Like it wasn't well liked. So the timing of him stepping down as director, I don't think is too the coincidence behind it. I don't think it's a coincidence, basically. But obviously, many were left disappointed by not seeing the actor's take on The Dark Knight, although we've already seen it. Especially after his portrayal was lauded as one of the most comic book faithful takes on the superhero. I mean, that's depending on what side you sit on. Like, loads of people didn't like it as well. But whatever, it is what it is. But let's not, kid ourselves. It was universally liked. But Keith Christensen has now posted on Instagram a piece of concept art from the scrap version of the film, showing what Affleck could have looked like. Now, this as a design, I mean, it is designed for Ben Affleck to be in there, isn't it? That is Ben Affleck. It's an interesting suit. It's a very interesting suit. I think it's better than the costume we got in the other films. Now, the reason why I personally wanted to look at this, because I wanted to see whether any of this stuff was reused for the Batman that we did get. I don't know if it was, like, I mean, we've got shoulder pads, but we've had shoulder pads on others. You could say maybe like the sort of armor plating on, the stomach, but how much of that is armor plating versus, costume and abs? I mean, because you can see it, like, the abdominal wall, obliques, intercostals. It doesn't look so much like armor, more like a body molded. I mean, it does kind of look like armor, but it looks very much more body forming than the costume that we did get. But I thought this would be interesting, and then obviously there's the rear version of it here as well. Now, this is very much armor plated, which I think is very Arkham as well. Now, Christensen would later share another picture showing the design from behind, confirming in the caption that this was concept for Ben Affleck's version of the Batman. He says, and here's the back view. Tried to design a consistent modular functional suit made from ballistic materials. Suit was designed when Ben Affleck was directing and starring in the Batman. So we understand the concept behind it now. It is a modular flowing suit made from ballistic materials. So I guess the front is armored, but it doesn't look. It's not massively armored. It doesn't look massively armored anyway. The rear view makes it look a lot more armored than the front view, like even down to the legs, right? Like the hamstrings to the sides of the quads. That looks much more armored than the front did. It is an interesting design suit. I don't think there's a lot of this which crossed over into the new one. I like it. I do like this design. It would have been interesting to see this actually in live action, to be perfectly honest. It looks better with a cape. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to get to see this. Very Arkham-esque as well. It would have been interesting to watch these plates sort of fold over one another in action and movement, because of course the lats move quite a lot. The trapezius as well moves quite a lot. So this all interconnecting here would have had to have a free-flowing function. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked. So I think that could have opened itself up to some very nice effects work, actually. But there you have it, ladies and gents. I mean, there you go. They say here that the suit is a significant departure from the one that the Dark Knight wore throughout his DCEU appearances. Christensen's version is much more armoured and seems to be partly inspired by the character's appearance in Injustice 2. Okay, yeah, I could probably see that. Batman would end up wearing an armoured costume in the form of a tactical suit in Justice League. That, however, was completely different from what we've seen here. I mean, it is, yeah. I mean, look, I quite like it, to be honest. Now, we don't know if this would have been what was picked. This would just be one of many. What do you guys think? Let me know. Let me know. And do follow Christensen Art on Instagram. You can see it all here. Please do check them out. I'll leave it linked in the description box. But thanks, guys. Leave your thoughts down below. Take care.